Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, everyone. We are your hosts, Mary and Vince Kramer. Welcome to Waking Up, where we share discussions, insights, and information about science, spirituality, and living a life of your design. Welcome, everyone. Vince and I are so happy to be here with you today to share our insight and perspective on the message we all received from the Roundtable channeling on our monthly free community call. For those of you that aren't familiar, Vince channels a group of energies that refer to themselves as the Roundtable because these higher frequencies join us as equals to help us live life in a way that fulfills our reason for being on Earth. This channeling happens on the third Monday of every month at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. We're here today to share our thoughts and our life experiences on the channeling that was given May of 2023. They're always wonderful, but this one really brought some things home to me. I've had a few difficult days, a few challenging days that we'll dig into. And like I always suggest, please listen to them over and over because every time you hear them, you're at a different vibration and you will hear more. I promise you. Every message in each channeling always expands us as we become more aware. So the May 2023 channeling was about rules. And we want to first talk about what is the difference between rules versus laws of the land. And Vince, I'd love for you to explain the difference and really share about laws of the land and how you have experienced identifying and living by the empowering rules in your life.
Well, I think one of the most important things to realize is that when the Roundtable talks about choosing your own rules, or when we talk about it in our programs that we present through Imagine Miracles. So what we're talking about is looking at the rules that you're using to live your life. That's why I think they brought up the laws of the land, because when we say live your life your way, or we say choose your rules, we're not saying, or they're not saying, don't pay attention to the laws of where you live. That's something completely different. You have to watch your speed when you're driving down the road and there's a speed limit. You have to make sure that you don't shoplift. Those are laws of the land, and I think that's what they were sharing there. But the rules that they were talking about, what beliefs are you following that you have? What beliefs of society do you follow? Are you reading a magazine or listening to the news and taking that as the way that you should live life or how you should look at different things? So that's the separation there, Mary. The laws are those things that, because we chose the country that we live in, we follow the laws that are put in place for the protection, for the safety. For whatever reason, we put laws on the books. But the rules that we live by, using our beliefs to judge the world around us, to choose how we act, that's a completely different story.
I think that was really helpful that you clarified that. They also talked about what it means to people to live by their rules. So many of our, let's say, old paradigm rules are based on how do we want to be perceived by people? Let's just talk about success. What does success mean to you? What does success mean to most people in society? And if we meet a certain criteria, then we are successful in other people's eyes. But what if we don't feel successful in our beingness? What do you think about that?
Well, I agree 100% that we've learned to follow what someone else tells us is a success, what being important should look like, even what our relationships should look like. There's all these expectations that are passed down from generation to generation, and we just take them in, we make them part of our belief system. There's always that part of us that knows exactly who we are at the core and wants to live more that way, feels like there's something missing because we're living from the rules of society, or in my case, as we shared in the book, grandpa's rules, or even my dad's rules, or men's rules, what women should act like. There's so many different rules out there. We're just trying to follow them to be accepted. The three big things in life, right? We want to be loved, we want to be worthy, and we want to be accepted. When we feel like we're none of those, we go look to see what's acceptable to somebody else. And really, what we're doing there then is choosing somebody else's rules. But the insides are always calling, saying, I want to live by my rules. I want to be successful in my way. I want to be happy in my way. And I think we get lost in following everybody else's way of doing things.
I definitely agree with that. When you were speaking of your grandfather's rules and your father's rules, that made me think of my mother, who, when I was a young girl, was very influential in the chiropractic community. And she was considered to be quite spiritual as well as a businesswoman. And I based so many of my rules on how she behaved. So I thought that if I spoke like her, acted like her, then I was not only a success, but I was spiritual. And it's so funny because one of the things that the roundtable talked about in that May channeling was a lot of people speak a certain way to be perceived as spiritual. And I don't know if we want to go into too much depth on that, but I just thought it was a really interesting idea and an interesting example.
I see it all the time in believing that if I speak this way, if I act this way, then I will be accepted by those around me. And I think it's not necessarily taking on someone else's rules in that case, but really finding meaning in how I act or how I show up in my life. If I feel it means that, then the people around me are going to feel it means that. And now we start altering who we are or being what we expect someone else to be because of that meaning that we've put on it.
The other thing that they talked about, which you just touched on, is we often will, let's say, create our image so that we're adored by people and people think we're helpful to the world. And I would imagine that sometimes how we speak could be helpful in that creation of people thinking, oh, so and so is very spiritual because, and look at all of the things that this person is doing for the world. I think that brings us to one of the questions I know we're going to talk about in a little bit is, are you really living to your true self just because you're adored or just because you're doing something super helpful to the world?
That's another thing about giving meaning. If we feel that if I act this way or if I speak this way, then I'm going to be accepted, or I'm showing the world that I'm spiritual, we then expect others to speak the same way, to act the same way. And it's because we believe then that that's what a spiritual person looks like, or is how a spiritual person should act. But what we don't realize is that we are all so unique that how we speak, how we show up in the world, how we act could be just as successful, just as spiritual, just as amazing as anyone else. But because you're not doing it my way, it doesn't look that way to me? Or more importantly, do we look at what others put meaning on, what others expect from us, and do we start showing up that way in our lives? And that's for a whole nother discussion in getting into mask and showing up in the way that we think people want us to show up in the world. We just have to realize and we just have to understand that it's okay to be who we are. And if we are who we are, and then more importantly for us trying to navigate life, allow other people to be who they are and not answer, if you will, or deliver on their expectations of us, then we're all going to live life in a completely different way.
Yeah, it's truly about choosing yours. And before we start talking about how do you choose yours in the most empowered way, I want to be really transparent with our listeners and actually get a little bit of advice from you. So, as you know, and a lot of I know the listeners have this response too. Sometimes you get in the high vibration of the roundtable, and it causes almost an effect on you for several days. And that's what happened to me. So I was very moved energetically by the high vibration of their sharing and by the questions that people brought to the group and the roundtable's answers to them about this topic of rules. So here's a story that I'd love your input on. I have a rule that when we come to Memorial Day weekend, it's the beginning of summer. That's my rule, Mary's rule. And the boat needs to be uncovered, and it's going to be sunny, and it's going to get warmer and warmer and warmer. And we're going to have, because, as we live in Colorado, we have a rather shorter summer, or rather shorter gardening season. So we have to start as soon as we can, and then sometimes deal with hail and snow, believe it or not, in June. But anyway, I still have this rule that summer starts with Memorial Weekend. Well, guess what? We did have a lovely Memorial Weekend, but then after that, it got cool and rainy for several days, and we had a boat trip planned. We are so blessed to have the Pueblo Reservoir only about 45 minutes from the house. So Vince and I can just grab the boat and pop down and be on the lake and get some sun and get back to work. But that didn't happen. So what I'm getting at is when I'm living by this rule and I didn't get to go out on the lake, this actual dark cloud of depression descended over me. And I'm a, conscious thinker and logical, and I could not shake that. And the days just kept continuing with the dreary weather. And I thought this would be such a great story for you to share. Why does that happen when you're in a low vibration? You know that you're under the dark cloud of depression, and yet that's the way it goes. So what's going on inside? What can you share about what happened to me?
Well, as you were ramping up with your story, one of the first things that you said was that, we look at and expect things to be a certain way. When we're living from our beliefs, that set of rules, our beliefs really come into effect on deciding how we're going to talk, how we're going to act, how we're going to show up. But then there's also another set of rules in our expectations. And I think that's what you were sharing there, Mary, that there was an expectation for things to be this way. Life is going to be this way. We look at our lives in a way that we're interjecting our expectations on other things, on other people, even on the weather, like you just shared. So because of that, then, because we believe that our belief systems and our expectations and the meanings that we put on life are exactly the way things that should show up, then we feel like we've been let down. We feel like the world's against us. We feel like our subpersonalities are attacking us, all because things didn't show up the way that we thought they should, not in alignment with our beliefs, not in alignment with our expectations, and definitely not in alignment with the meanings that we want to put on things. So you believing that summer is here and now it's time to get out and express yourself in a way that you really love, because I know you love the sun. I know you love to be out on the water and it's really important. Then missing out on that expectation of being there, now you put a meaning on it that this is a bad day or this is a bad time. And then we start rolling into our depression or our anxiety, which then what does what? It triggers more of those subpersonality voices in our heads, which puts us in a spiral into low vibration. And when we spiral into low vibration, now we're truly losing the creative factor in our life, because our thoughts and our feelings at a low vibration are going to bring more things of a low vibration into our life.
Absolutely. Here I am, just sharing some of the most intimate details of my life. But the spiral you mentioned, I wasn't willing, because you're going to talk about action in a little bit, but I wasn't willing to really take charge and move out of that downward spiral that I got myself into. So by the time Sunday night came last weekend, I was pretty much in a, feel sorry for myself, victim place, low vibration. And then interestingly, that almost created, you use the word created, it almost created like a container around me for the next couple of days of more disappointment. So I won't go into details, but just as simple as when we had the house cleaned, they did not do their normal job. Why? I mean, it has to be what you're talking about. Like I created the container in my home with us for the people to come in and clean. And I was once again disappointed. And that's what I think is a perfect segue into how do we choose our rules and how do we choose when enough is enough? And Mary, when is it time for you to accept that the weather's going to be bad for several days and you're not going out on the boat, and let's raise our vibration back? The roundtable talked in the channeling a lot about, in order to be able to choose and really understand what empowering beliefs, meanings, rules are for you, you must know who you are at your core and why you're here at your core, so you can live your life your way. So can you share and educate on how moving through life, because I do have my blueprint, I have uncovered these answers, I do know who I am, and I know why I'm here, but yet I still had such a low time. So talk to us about choosing.
Well, you gave me a big old box there to unpack. There's probably about 40 different subjects that we could dive into that. Let's look at from the aspect of, first of all, the belief around, well, things should be exactly the way I want it when I want it. Because that's really what you were sharing. It's this time and this is what I should get to experience, and it should be that way for me. And then maybe even another one, that there's something wrong with you, or it's not fair that you don't get to do what you want in life. So the first thing is in choosing more empowering rules for yourself or more empowering beliefs, because they could almost be used in this case interchangeably. The first thing you have to realize is that you have the old ones and that you're operating from that automatically. It's what do scientists say now? About 5% of the time we're in our conscious mind, and 95% we're in our subconscious. And those beliefs and the automatic reactions coming from those beliefs are coming from the subconscious. So first of all, you got to be aware that you're having those beliefs. And it's not the outside that's affecting you, it's the inside that's creating that spiral that goes on for days and days. And then to realize that your subpersonalities are using those same beliefs to keep you in that spiral.
And that's what you meant by the inside, the subpersonalities.
Well, yes, and also the beliefs themselves, because they're embodied also in you. So you've got the subpersonalities, you've got the beliefs that are holding on to you. And then to get to the next point that you brought up, the roundtable says, well, you need to know who you are and why you're here. That's really about, okay, now that you know you have beliefs that aren't empowering you, you want to create, if you will, or you want to transform your beliefs, reframe them into ones that are more empowering, that serve you better. Well, we can choose a set of beliefs and do the reframing, but why not choose from a place of, well, this is what I'm here to do. This is how I'm here to show up in the world. This is my why. This is what I have to offer. I have all this great stuff to offer, my gifts, my talents. And as an energy, this is what I bring to the world. So the who, what, and why of you, why not develop your beliefs, reframe your beliefs, choose new beliefs based on those three parts of you, the three parts that truly make you unique. And then, all right, let's choose empowering beliefs that are in alignment with where I want to go, how I want to show up in the world, why I even chose to be here. So that process, it starts at becoming aware of where you are right now, what belief, what rule might be holding you back, where is your meanings coming from? All right, what direction do I want to go in as I reframe and choose new beliefs? And then to reframe, and there's so many different ways of reframing. We can talk about that maybe in a whole nother podcast about reframing your beliefs. But the most important thing to realize through all this is our beliefs aren't real, which means the rules we're living by life internally and how we're deciding how we talk, how we act, who we hang around with, what meaning we give something, that it's not real. And it's only what we choose to believe. So why not choose to believe something else that's more empowering to us?
So the last thing that they shared about this journey is that you have to also listen and accept the messages, callings, and promptings that you get. So what I wanted to share about that before you comment on it is I wasn't in a place to receive the callings or a prompting or a nudge, at least until Monday. Like I just wasn't going to hear guidance. I wasn't going to see the road signs. But Monday, though, I was in a high enough vibration that I was receptive once again to what you were talking about a minute ago, which is how can I use knowing who I am and knowing why I'm here to be in a higher vibration and find the joy in doing something that is in complete alignment with me, that's from the inside. It's not, and I should clarify, it's from the empowered part of the inside, so that I am experiencing doing something that's maybe not out on the water, but it's doing something in alignment with who I am, which could be giving a sound bath. So right after I came out of this low vibration, terrible place, I did have a calling or prompting to plan a sound bath. And I'm using that as a segue because the last thing that they talked about was you have to take action. So I did. I set a date for a public sound bath, and that truly helped me feel more empowered and have a higher vibration as I moved from poor me, couldn't go out on the water, to great me. I'm living my divine intent. I'm sharing my abilities, my talents and gifts, and I'm being successful in sharing all of who I am with the public and feeling really good about it. So I think that's a fun example of taking action.
Once again, you put so much together in a box to unpack there. First of all, about messages and promptings, uh, even the understanding that we're sad or we're angry or we're upset about what's going on, or anxiety can be a message for us to show us, what we're feeling, what we're thinking in that moment's not in alignment with who we truly are. So that there's one place that we're truly getting messages and promptings. We get them through mirrors, people showing us how we're showing up in the world, what our energy is that's vibrating out into the world because we attract it back in. That's a message and a prompting for us to realize, noticing that we're truly putting meaning on what somebody says or how they act. That's a projection. And as we project out onto others, we're actually giving them our meaning and then being upset with them because we gave them that meaning. So there's all kinds of ways that there's messages and promptings there. And I love what you said, that, it took you a while to get to a place, then to hear, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? Because it's going to bring you into a higher vibration. We have to have compassion for ourselves. This is a new way of looking at things. Many of this is new paradigm. Yes, they've talked about beliefs before. They've talked about subpersonalities. They've talked about mirrors and projections. But we're looking at it from a new paradigm of taking all of it, putting it together, and implementing it in your life. So it's a new way of showing up. It's a new way of being. In that new way of being, you have to have compassion for yourself and give yourself an opportunity to make some mistakes, to be wrapped up in the old way. And then when you're in a place to choose the new way, then listen to that prompting, make that choice, and then allow yourself through that compassion to learn and grow and to find the higher vibrations and choose new ways, new meanings, new beliefs.
I totally agree with you, even though it can be painful or daunting. I wanted to share the last diamond that they gave us, and it's so perfect because you were saying it. So I'm going to tag on to what you were just saying with a quote from the round table before we say goodbye. They said, it's not about calling in what you want, but creating it. It's about setting your intent. It's about putting out to the universe how you want to live your life. It's by finding and raising your vibration to a level that you can create and manifest and materialize in your life those things that support you. And I think that's what I was sharing about listening and moving into action with the sound bath, and support all that you were saying there, Vince. Live your divine intent within the rules that you choose for yourself. I thought that was a very beautiful diamond. How about you?
Yes, so much to share in future podcasts to help each and every one of us show up fully in being who we are and living our divine intent.
So I can't think of a better space to end our time together for this episode. You can listen to the full channeling at themiracleyou.com or on our Imagine Miracles YouTube channel.
On behalf of Mary and I, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We hope there's some nuggets that you've taken away from our time together, and we can't wait to be back with you again soon.
And don't forget that if you haven't picked up our best-selling book on Amazon, Awakening Through Moments of Choice, a lot of people are actually rereading it now. It has many levels of information. So we encourage you to pick it up, or if you already have it, to read it again.
See you soon and have a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleyou.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 Mind Awakening Steps Toward Your Unique Purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleyou.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.